full 2 laps behind the winner Lewis Hamilton. That was Sergio Perez's result on the legendary Silverstone track, and it's safe to say that we can start questioning how much longer will he be a Red Bull driver. It seems like Helmut Marko and Christian Horner's confidence in the Mexican driver is waning with each passing race, and with Liam Lawson testing the RB20, are the top 2 Red Bull racing people trying to tell us something? The Spain-Austria-England triple header has been difficult for everyone on the Formula 1 grid, but perhaps none more so than the Red Bull racing driver Sergio Perez, who is now fighting for his race seat despite signing a multi-year contract. After the race, Sergio Perez admitted that the next 2 races are a priority for him, and that could very well have something to do with a rumored release clause in his latest contract with Red Bull Racing. Looking at his 2024 results, it's clear that Sergio Perez's performance has begun to fade. In the first 5 races, Perez scored 3 second places and 1 third. Then, back-to-back retirements in Monaco and Canada, followed by his latest 17th place in England, leaves Perez 6th overall in the World Drivers' Championship standings. The subsequent 2 weekends are the Hungarian and Belgian Grands Prix, the latter of which could be a decisive factor in Perez's future. Sergio Perez must not be more than 100 points behind teammate Max Verstappen after the conclusion of the Belgian Grand Prix in order for a reported release clause to come into effect should Red Bull decide to trigger it. Red Bull has admitted it desperately needs Perez, who has been experiencing a prolonged period of poor performance, to be competitive at the front in F1 again. Perez's latest qualifying setbacks at Silverstone was particularly poorly timed and underscored the fact that the Red Bull's car does not have enough of an advantage to compensate for an underperforming second driver. If Perez does not demonstrate he can meet this challenge before the summer break, the possibility of a driver change at F1's top team becomes realistic for this year, not just for 2025. While the team views this as a last resort, it is believed to be a genuine consideration. "I know where I am in terms of contract and that sort of thing," he said of the speculations around his immediate future. "I cannot let it be a distraction. I need to focus on the next few weekends, which are the priority, together with the team to get out of this difficult period." Despite Perez signing a 2-year contract extension with Red Bull earlier this season, his subsequent performance has led the team to reassess its options for who should partner Max Verstappen in the future, both this season and beyond. Before the British GP, team boss Christian Horner warned Perez that he needed a big race after his early exit in qualifying. Despite Perez's current form, he was offered a new contract recently by Red Bull in the form of a 1+1 deal. This keeps him at the Milton Keynes-based team next season with an option to extend for a further year. Several have questioned why Red Bull offered Perez the deal so early in the season and during a difficult run of results, and Horner revealed that Red Bull hoped the new contract would spark Perez's front-running form. "This is a sport where there's no hiding, particularly with Max Verstappen as your teammate," said Horner. "He knows he's being measured against the very best, and we need him up there supporting Max because there's 2 McLarens now, there's 2 Ferraris, and there's 2 Mercedes. We need there to be desperately 2 Red Bulls." The warning came amid rumors of a potential mid-season seat swap, with Daniel Ricciardo from RB being promoted to the first team. However, Ricciardo's role is also under scrutiny, as Helmut Marko stated that shareholders want the team to return to its roots as a driver development program. This is why it is very important for Perez to show some good results until the summer break, because if not, then Liam Lawson is patiently waiting as he's going to test the RB20 next week at Silverstone. This situation has triggered speculations that Daniel Ricciardo could make a sensational return to Red Bull in a swap with Perez after the summer break. However, this appears unlikely as the Australian has not met expectations since his full-time return to F1 this year. Red Bull had hoped Ricciardo would prove he deserved a return to the main squad he left for Renault at the end of 2018. That has not happened, and with Ricciardo currently fighting for his future at the Faenza-based outfit, there is little belief he's an option for Red Bull. There are few top options available, but one possibility is promoting reserve driver Liam Lawson to the main squad if Red Bull feels it needs an alternative to Perez either later this year or next season. This idea gained some traction with news that Lawson is scheduled to drive an RB20 at Silverstone on Thursday as part of a Red Bull filming day. This will be the second of the 2 promotional events testing days teams are allowed each season. While billed as a marketing event, the 200 kilometers Lawson will run is enough to evaluate his potential. 12 months ago, Red Bull used a Pirelli tyre test after the British GP to evaluate Ricciardo's potential in last year's RB19. His performance then convinced the squad to draft him as a replacement for Nyck de Vries, who struggled at AlphaTauri, now RB. Lawson impressed during his 5 outings at AlphaTauri last season, including a 9th place finish at the Singapore GP after Ricciardo injured his hand practicing for the Dutch GP. His form made him a prime candidate to replace Ricciardo later this year if the team felt a shakeup was needed. But with Ricciardo showing improved form recently that could secure his place for now, a Lawson move to Red Bull could be a way to keep the New Zealander in the family amid talks that he could be contractually free at the end of the year if he does not secure a race seat with the energy drinks giant for 2025. I think that putting Lawson in the car for testing will provide a direct comparison between Perez and an absolute rookie, albeit a highly talented one with limited experience. This could reveal whether the performance issues are more related to Perez's driving than the car itself, highlighting how much Perez has declined. Lawson had a strong stint in the RB and showed promise, but it's important not to overestimate his capabilities just yet. Testing him in the Red Bull will allow the team to evaluate his true potential in a top-tier car and confirm whether he should be placed in the Junior RB next year. Red Bull has learned from past mistakes, and unless they expect a different outcome from the same action, Lawson is not ready for a full-time seat at Red Bull. They wouldn't want to risk his development or have him try to challenge Verstappen to prove his worth. This move carries too much risk and potential negative consequences. If Lawson excels in the Red Bull, it would indicate that Perez should be replaced. Despite potential unpopularity, the best option from the current stable might be to move Ricciardo into the Red Bull to support Verstappen. Ricciardo has shown he can drive last year's spec at a pace comparable to Verstappen's in clean air, has a good relationship with Verstappen, and isn't a rookie eager to prove himself. If Perez doesn't get his act together as early as the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, then I believe we will see a Nyck de Vries situation from last year, simply because of the ruthlessness that is plenty in Red Bull Racing's paddock, but also because this is the first season since 2021 where Red Bull's constructors' title is threatened much more than the drivers' one. Even though the team is a comfortable lead, we are at the midway point in 2024, and Horner and Marko will not tolerate a driver that can barely make it into Q2 on a championship-winning car. Perez's days are numbered, it seems, and who will be his replacement is anyone's guess. The fact is, however, that it's possible Red Bull thought extending Perez's contract would put his mind off the uncertainty about his future and make him focus on racing, but it might have the opposite effect, as it allowed him to feel safe for another year. If Red Bull had left it hanging in the air, maybe it would have kept Perez on his toes if his drive was on the line, or maybe it would have made his driving worse if it felt pressured. Either way, it's not like Perez was suddenly going to be driving for podiums, and this is becoming clear now. What do you think? Who could replace Perez? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.